Item Number SCP-Y-023. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-Y-023 is to be contained within a reinforced concrete chamber, 10 meters in height, width and length at Site Y-1. The chamber must be surrounded by a Faraday cage to prevent electronic interference. Access to SCP-Y-023 is restricted to Level 4 personnel and above, and any interaction must be conducted remotely via robotic drones. Under no circumstances are personnel to enter the containment chamber without express authorization and full cognitive hazard protection. All visual recordings of SCP-Y-023 are to be reviewed and, if necessary, redacted by personnel with Level 4 mimetic resistance training. Unauthorized viewing of SCP-Y-023's image is strictly prohibited. Description: SCP-Y-023 is an anomalous entity originating from Provisional Reality-Y-1. SCP-Y-023 appears as a vague, featureless face with deeply sunken eyes which seem to absorb light. As more individuals become aware of SCP-Y-023, its body slowly becomes more perceptible, starting from the head and progressing downward. This gradual manifestation can take weeks or even months, depending on the number of people aware of its existence. SCP-Y-023 exhibits several anomalous abilities, including the following: Mimetic Hazard. Exposure to any visual representation of SCP-Y-023, including photographs, videos, and artistic depictions, induces a strong mimetic effect. Affected individuals become obsessed with SCP-Y-023, experiencing intrusive thoughts and compulsions to seek out and view the entity in person. After a variable time period post-exposure to the entity, the affected persons will develop a desire to spread knowledge of SCP-Y-023 indirectly, seemingly in an attempt to confirm with other people that what they saw wasn't a hallucination or illusion of some kind. Prolonged exposure leads to severe psychological distress and eventual self-harm if left untreated. Cognitive Hazard. Direct visual contact with SCP-Y-023, either in person or via recording, induces extreme psychological effects. Symptoms include paranoia, hallucinations, violent behavior, and a complete loss of higher cognitive functions. Affected individuals often become catatonic or psychotic, requiring immediate containment and treatment. Electronic media alteration. SCP-Y-023 has a profound effect on electronic devices with media within its range. Images and pictures are subtly altered to incorporate SCP-Y-023's features. Its face may manifest in reflections of water, mirrors, phone screens, cars, eyes, or other reflective surfaces in the image. Depending on its current manifestation level, SCP-Y-023 may also produce its hands and arms in images posed as branches of trees, reaching around corners with its bony fingers, or in rare cases its limbs may replace the limbs of a person or animal within the image. In video media, SCP-Y-023 may appear as a face within shadows or reflections. Based on its manifestation level, it may alter the videos entirely, turning them into gruesome portrayals of SCP-Y-023, mauling any living creatures that originally appeared in the video for its duration. Any images or recordings of individuals who have seen SCP-Y-023 will show their faces to be the same as SCP-Y-023's. As the duration of their knowledge of SCP-Y-023 progresses, media of these individuals will slowly be altered until they look identical to SCP-Y-023. Teleportation. SCP-Y-023 can instantaneously teleport to any location within its line of sight. This ability makes containment extremely challenging, as traditional barriers are ineffective. The mechanism behind this teleportation is currently unknown, though we have noted that if a picture is taken of SCP-Y-023 with a Polaroid camera, the entity's position will be instantly altered upon taking a picture. Progressive transformation. Individuals who have seen SCP-Y-023 either disappear without a trace or end up dying during a final process that occurs suddenly and without warning. This process involves rapid excess skin growth that covers their mouth and nose, while their eyes fade out of existence. This transformation seems to happen to all who have witnessed SCP-Y-023 after an indeterminate period. The longest recorded instance involved a researcher who had witnessed SCP-Y-023 fleetingly before being treated with heavy amnestics to wipe their memory of the anomaly. After 7 months, this researcher disappeared. Site-Y-1 cameras captured footage of the individual waking from a dead sleep, stumbling around, and experiencing rapid skin growth that covered their mouth and nose. After their face was completely covered, the researcher walked to a corner of their chamber and phased through the walls, never to be seen again. The report of this incident is handwritten, and the tape holding the footage has been destroyed due to the mimetic effects associated with the researcher's appearance in the footage. Whether they disappear or are found dead, affected individuals develop excess skin growths that imitate the vague visage of SCP-Y-023. Some disappear mysteriously, but most are found deceased, having asphyxiated during the transformation process. Incident Log Y-023-3. Date: October 2000. Y-023 breached containment following a power outage at Site Y1. During the 45-minute breach, the anomaly went into an uncharacteristic rage and caused significant structural damage, resulting in the deaths of 54 personnel. Mobile Task Force Zeta-0, Bad Bunch, successfully recontained Y-023 using cognito-hazard-resistant equipment and non-visual detection methods. Researcher notes, continuous upgrades to containment protocols are essential to prevent future breaches. Investigation into potential countermeasures for Y-023's mimetic and cognitive effects is ongoing. Personnel are reminded to adhere strictly to all containment procedures and report any irregularities immediately. Addendum Y-023-2. Manifestation tracking research indicates that the more individuals become aware of Y-023, the more of its body becomes visible, starting from the head. This has led to the hypothesis that Y-023's physical presence in baseline reality is linked to collective awareness. Current containment protocols aim to limit information dissemination to prevent full manifestation. Addendum Y-023-2. Analysis of Y-023's influence on electronic frequencies and media. Extensive studies have been conducted to understand the nature and mechanisms of these influences, uncovering a complex interaction between Y-023 and electronic systems. This document outlines the detailed analysis and findings of these studies. Initial observations. Upon initial containment, it was noted that electronic devices in proximity to Y-023 exhibited unusual behavior. This included distortion of images and videos, unexpected malfunctions, and the appearance of Y-023's features in media files. To quantify these effects, a series of controlled experiments were conducted. Experiment Y-023-E1, Image and Video Distortion. Procedure. A set of digital cameras and recording devices were placed at various distances from Y-023's containment chamber. These devices were programmed to continuously capture images and videos, which were then analyzed for any alterations. Findings. Images and videos captured within a 30-meter radius of Y-023 exhibited significant visual distortion. Faces of individuals in the recordings were gradually altered to resemble Y-023, with the effect becoming more pronounced the closer the device was to Y-023. Y-023's face would occasionally appear in reflections and shadows within the media. In some instances, its hands and arms were seen reaching around corners or appearing as extensions of objects within the frame. Experiment Y-023-E2. Audio anomalies procedure. Microphones and audio recording equipment were set up to monitor ambient sounds in the vicinity of Y-023. These recordings were analyzed for any anomalies or patterns. Findings. Recordings captured within a 50-meter radius of Y-023 contained low-frequency hums and dissonant tones not present in the original environment. These sounds were often described as unsettling or inducing a sense of dread. In several instances, Y-023's voice was detected in the recordings, mimicking the speech of personnel in a distorted and eerie manner. This effect was particularly pronounced when personnel discussed Y-023, suggesting an awareness of conversations about it. Experiment Y-023-E3. Electronic device interference, procedure. Various electronic devices, including smartphones, laptops, and communication equipment, were placed within a 100-meter radius of Y-023. These devices were monitored for operational anomalies. Findings: devices within a 30-meter radius frequently malfunctioned, exhibiting symptoms such as unexpected shutdowns, data corruption, and erratic behavior. The severity of these malfunctions decreased with distance, but remained noticeable up to 100 meters. Screens of electronic devices within the affected range would occasionally display images of Y-023, even when turned off or disconnected from power sources. These images would manifest as part of system errors or as background wallpapers without user intervention. Experiment Y-023-E4. Frequency analysis procedure. A spectrum analyzer was used to monitor the electromagnetic frequencies in the vicinity of Y-023. The goal was to detect any unusual emissions or patterns in the electromagnetic spectrum. Findings: Y-023 emitted a continuous signal in the extremely low frequency ELF range. This signal varied in intensity and appeared to correlate with Y-023's level of activity and agitation. The ELF signal interfered with standard communication frequencies, particularly those used for radio and wireless transmissions. This interference caused disruptions in communication equipment, leading to static, dropped signals, and corrupted data transmissions. Advanced analysis, sub-experiment Y-023-4.1, signal modulation. Procedure: advanced signal analysis tools were used to study the modulation patterns of the ELF signals emitted by Y-023. Researchers aimed to determine if these signals contained any encoded information or patterns. Findings: detailed analysis revealed that the ELF signals emitted by Y-023 contained complex repeating patterns. These patterns did not correspond to any known communication protocols or natural phenomena, suggesting an anomalous origin. Researchers hypothesized that these patterns might represent an attempt at communication or an unknown form of data transmission. Further studies are required to decode the information contained within these signals. Sub-experiment Y-023-E4.2, cognitive effects of ELF exposure. Procedure: volunteers were exposed to the ELF signals emitted by Y-023 under controlled conditions. Their cognitive and psychological responses were monitored and analyzed. Findings: exposure to Y-023's ELF signals induced feelings of unease, paranoia, and mild hallucinations in subjects. These effects were more pronounced with prolonged exposure, leading to heightened anxiety and distress. Subjects exposed to the signals exhibited impaired cognitive functions, including difficulty concentrating, memory lapses, and confusion. These effects subsided gradually after the exposure ceased, but long-term exposure resulted in more persistent cognitive deficits. Conclusion: the studies conducted on Y-023's influence on electronic frequencies and media have revealed a multifaceted, anomalous effect that disrupts electronic systems, distorts visual and audio media, and emits complex ELF signals with potential cognitive hazards. The following key findings have been established. Y-023 causes significant visual and audio distortions in media captured within its vicinity, altering images and recordings to include its features and mimicking speech. Electronic devices within a 100-meter radius experience malfunctions, unwanted displays of Y-023's image, and interference with communication signals. Y-023 emits continuous ELF signals that interfere with standard frequencies, induce psychological and cognitive effects, and contain complex patterns suggesting potential communication. Ongoing research aims to decode the ELF signals, mitigate the cognitive hazards, and develop advanced containment measures to counteract Y-023's electronic influence. Further experiments are planned to explore the underlying mechanisms of Y-023's anomalous effects and to enhance the security protocols at Site Y1. Addendum Y-023-5. Detailed analysis of face-covering skin growth and transformation process. Overview: Y-023's influence extends beyond electronic interference and media distortion to induce a unique and fatal transformation in individuals who have seen it. This process involves rapid and abnormal skin growth that covers the face, leading to asphyxiation or mysterious disappearance. Detailed studies, including direct observation of D-class personnel during transformation and autopsies of deceased victims, have been conducted to understand the biological effects and mechanisms behind this phenomenon. Experiment Y-023-T1. Observation of living subjects transformation. Subject: D98642, a 35-year-old male with no prior health issues. Procedure: D98642 was exposed to a visual representation of Y-023 under controlled conditions. The subject was then monitored continuously for signs of transformation, with regular medical examinations conducted to document physiological changes. Findings: within 24 hours of exposure, D98642 began experiencing mild headaches, dizziness, and an increasing sense of unease. Psychological evaluations indicated heightened anxiety and paranoia. Approximately 3 weeks and 6 hours post-exposure, the subject's skin began to exhibit unusual activity. Medical scans showed accelerated cell growth around the face, particularly around the eyes, nose, and mouth. Within 2 hours after this instance, visible patches of excess skin began forming around D98642's eyes, nose, and mouth. The skin growth appeared to be a result of hyperproliferation of keratinocytes, the primary cell type in the epidermis. By the end of the 23rd day post-exposure, the excess skin had completely covered the subject's eyes, nose, and mouth, forming a continuous layer that obstructed breathing and vision. The subject entered a state of respiratory distress, followed by unconsciousness due to hypoxia. Approximately 12 hours after the face-covering skin growth had fully developed, D98642's body was observed to phase through the walls of the containment chamber. This disappearance was recorded by cameras, showing the subject's body becoming increasingly translucent before vanishing entirely. Autopsy findings from deceased victims. Subject: autopsy reports of 4 deceased individuals who had witnessed Y-023, designated victim A, V, C, and D. Procedure: detailed autopsies were performed on the bodies of these victims to investigate the physiological changes and causes of death. Findings: all autopsied victims exhibited significant excess skin growth around the face, similar to that observed in D98642. The skin was notably thicker and denser than normal epidermal tissue, suggesting an abnormal proliferative process. In all cases, the victims' airways were completely obstructed by the excess skin, leading to asphyxiation. The inner surfaces of the new skin layer contained traces of keratin and other proteins, typically found in the outermost layer of the skin. The eyes of all victims appeared to have dissolved or disappeared during the transformation. Microscopic analysis revealed that the ocular tissues had been replaced by undifferentiated skin cells, indicating a complete cellular transformation. Aside from the facial changes and asphyxiation, no significant internal damage was noted in the autopsied victims. This suggests that the transformation process is localized to the face and respiratory system. Molecular and cellular analysis. Experiment Y-023-C1. Cellular proliferation studies. Procedure: skin samples from victims and transforming D-class personnel were collected and analyzed under laboratory conditions to study the cellular mechanisms of the transformation. Findings: the skin cells exhibited abnormally rapid division rates, far exceeding normal epidermal cell proliferation. This hyperproliferation was linked to overactive signaling pathways typically involved in wound healing and regeneration. Genetic analysis revealed mutations in several key genes regulating cell growth and differentiation. These mutations were not present in the subject's genomes prior to exposure, indicating that Y-023 induces specific genetic changes. The transforming skin cells showed abnormal expression of keratin and other structural proteins, leading to the formation of the thick, dense skin layer. These proteins were also found in locations typically devoid of keratinocytes, such as the eyes and inner nasal passages. Behavioral and psychological effects. Experiment Y-023-P1. Psychological evaluation. Procedure. Psychological assessments were conducted on D-class personnel and surviving witnesses of Y-023 to document the mental and emotional effects of exposure. Findings. All subjects reported severe paranoia and anxiety following exposure to Y-023. These symptoms intensified as the transformation progressed, contributing to psychological distress. Subjects exhibited compulsive behaviors, including repeated attempts to touch or remove the excess skin growth. These behaviors were driven by intense discomfort and a sense of suffocation. Prolonged exposure led to cognitive decline, with subjects experiencing memory lapses, disorientation, and difficulty concentrating. These effects were more pronounced in individuals with advanced transformation stages. Conclusion. The detailed analysis of Y-023's influence on individuals has revealed a complex and fatal transformation process characterized by rapid and abnormal skin growth. This growth obstructs the airways, leading to asphyxiation and causes the eyes to dissolve or disappear. Genetic and molecular studies suggest that Y-023 induces specific mutations and abnormal protein expression, driving the hyperproliferation of skin cells. Behavioral and psychological effects include severe paranoia, anxiety, compulsive behaviors, and cognitive decline, further complicating the containment and treatment of affected individuals. The mysterious disappearances observed in some cases, where subjects phase through solid objects, remain unexplained and warrant further investigation. Ongoing research aims to uncover the precise mechanisms behind Y-023's effects, develop effective countermeasures, and improve containment protocols to prevent further casualties. Addendum Y-023-5. Discovery of SCP-Y-023. SCP-Y-023 was discovered under disturbing and macabre circumstances in a small village in Germany. The event was triggered by the unexpected and harrowing vacation of a Site-Y-1 security personnel, who had traveled to Germany to participate in Oktoberfest and explore the country. Incident Report Y-023-0-Fest-1. Date: October 5, 2000. Location: Germany. Involved personnel: MTF Zeta Zero Bad Bunch. Lead operative: 4-Head. Initial incident. The discovery began with a sudden and unexplained disturbance at Site-Y-1. The site's intercom systems were simultaneously disrupted by a sharp, piercing sound, immediately followed by a blood-curdling scream. The scream was quickly identified by co-workers as belonging to the Site-Y-1 security personnel on vacation in Germany. MTF Zeta Zero Bad Bunch was dispatched to trace its last known location. Following his vacation itinerary through various Oktoberfest locations, the team was led to a small, secluded village in Germany. As the team approached the village, several operatives with heightened or supernatural senses reported feeling an intense and foreboding sensation. Operatives with advanced hearing capabilities detected a horrific and unsettling frequency emanating from the village. Based on these unsettling reports, 4-Head ordered a switch to a high-caution hands-off approach. The team deployed drones controlled via satellite signal by personnel at Site-Y-1 to survey the village remotely. The drone reconnaissance revealed a seemingly deserted village with signs of recent human activity. Tables were set with half-eaten food, and partially consumed drinks were scattered around, indicating that a large Oktoberfest celebration had likely occurred the previous night. A large bonfire in the village center still smoldered with lightly burning coals. Approximately 2 hours into the drone survey, Zeta Zero members stationed outside the village reported that the unsettling frequency had suddenly increased in pitch and intensity. Simultaneously, drone camera signals were interrupted for about a minute before resuming to reveal a horrific scene. Every building in the village was overflowing with corpses, each victim having died from the asphyxiation effect associated with SCP-Y-023's transformation. The bodies were crammed into houses as if packed into an overstuffed pantry. Near the village's central bonfire, the upper half of SCP-Y-023's body had manifested, staring directly into the drone cameras. The entity's appearance was disturbingly intentional, as if it knew it was being observed. In an alarming turn of events, a simultaneous phone call was made to every personal and company phone, as well as all landlines within Site Y1. Personnel stationed in Provisional Reality-Y-1 with company phones also received these calls, indicating a cross-dimensional effect. An emergency broadcast was quickly played by Site Director Knightley to prevent personnel from answering the calls, but 2 researchers and 5 security personnel had already answered. Their phones automatically switched to speaker mode, playing a dissonant and haunting voice that uttered the words, This phrase, later confirmed to be the voice of SCP-Y-023, spread the infection to those who heard it. Following this incident, MTF Zeta Zero Bad Bunch managed to contain the situation by establishing a quarantine perimeter around the village. Drones continued to monitor SCP-Y-023, which remained partially manifested by the bonfire, until additional containment measures could be implemented. The Site Y1 personnel who had answered the calls were immediately isolated and subjected to intensive amnestic treatment. However, the effects of the infection proved resistant, and several of these individuals later succumbed to the transformation process or disappeared mysteriously. Conclusion: the discovery of SCP-Y-023 in Germany highlights the extreme danger posed by this entity. Its ability to manifest cross-dimensionally and infect individuals through electronic means necessitates ongoing vigilance and stringent containment protocols. The incident underscores the importance of restricting exposure to SCP-Y-023 and implementing immediate countermeasures to prevent the spread of its mimetic and cognitive effects. Further research into SCP-Y-023's influence on electronic frequencies and media is crucial to understanding and mitigating its threat. Incident Report Audio Log. Interview with D-Class Subject D9821. Date: November 3rd, 2000. Location: Site Y1. Interviewer: Researcher Jack Stewart. Interviewee: D-Class Subject D9821. The following is currently the only known recording relating to SCP-Y-023 that has no traces of its mimetic effects. Begin log.
This is Researcher Jack Stewart, recording an interview with D-Class Subject D9821. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you. Let's get this over with.
Please state your number for the record.
It's D9821. Just like it says on the jumpsuit. What more do you need?
You were exposed to SCP-Y-023 as part of a routine test. Can you describe what you saw and how it affected you?
You mean that creepy thing with the face? Yeah, I saw it. It gave me the chills, but whatever. I've seen worse.
Can you be more specific? What did you experience during and after your exposure?
Look, Doc, I don't get paid to be specific. I saw it, it looked freaky, and now I'm stuck here talking to you. Can I go now?
No, you cannot. We need detailed information. Have you experienced any unusual thoughts, behaviors, or physical changes since the exposure?
You really don't get it, do you? It's not like I keep a diary, but fine. I've had weird dreams, seeing that face everywhere. Happy.
Everywhere? Can you elaborate on that?
You know, Doc, in the mirror, in my food, sometimes even when I close my eyes. It's like it's following me around. Creepy as hell.
That's important information. You're doing good. Have you noticed any changes in your physical appearance?
No, I look the same as I always do. And if I didn't, who cares? It's not like anyone's giving me a modeling contract in here.
All right, D9821. I need to inform you that due to the potential risks, you will remain under observation for an extended period.
What? You've got to be kidding me. This is bullshit. Let me out of here.
Calm down, please. This is for your safety and the safety of the facility.
Safety my ass. You just want to keep me locked up. You're all the same. If all is gone, our pain will be gone.
What did you just say?
What? I didn't say anything. You're making stuff up.
You just said, if all is gone, our pain will be gone.
Yeah, right. Whatever you say, Doc. Can I go now?
One week after this interview, D-Class subject D9821 was found deceased in his containment chamber. Cause of death was determined to be asphyxiation, as his nose and mouth had been covered by anomalous flesh growth. His face had taken on the sunken eyes and featureless visage, characteristic of SCP-Y-023. An investigation is ongoing to understand the progression of SCP-Y-023's effects and to develop better containment and mitigation protocols. Enhanced security and monitoring measures have been implemented for all personnel and D-Class subjects exposed to SCP-Y-023. This is Director Knightley, signing off on another report at Site Y1. I hope you consider subscribing to stay up to date with our findings. I eagerly look forward to having your audience in future reports.